Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will get started shortly. We do have everyone on mute and we do have everyone off camera for right now. Hey, Diane.
Hi there.
Again, welcome to everybody who's joining us. We'll get started very shortly. It's so nice to see so many people who I know.
It is nice, isn't it?
It is. And again, we'll be starting shortly. We're just letting others in. I hope everybody has been enjoying their day. I don't think I checked the weather today in Maryland, but in the Phoenix area, it was close to like 95 today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like barely 60.
Well, I can certainly send some of the sunshine and the warmth to you.
Please. Please do. I'm ready for summer.
Again, welcome to all of you who have just joined us, and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. You know what might be kind of fun, if you want to go to chat and let us know how you originally found out about HobbleJog. That's always kind of fun to hear about. If you want to go in chat and add that. Yeah. I would almost bet that all of our chats will have something to do with our relationship with Susan.
Isn't that how it always is?
30 and 40 years, probably.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
I'm
Hey,
great.
Bob.
Hey, Lori.
It's been a while.
It has.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Been a long time.
It has.
Yes, Diane Hawkins' chat is, I've known Susan forever. Friend forever. Yeah.
So, Lori, you in Phoenix now?
What, Bob?
You are in Phoenix now?
I am. Yeah, I've been here almost 3 years.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. So again, welcome to everybody who's joining us. And just again, if you're interested in putting in the chat kind of how you originally found out about HobbleJog, that would be wonderful. And I'm just checking in, and I think we almost have all of our speakers. Yeah, Yvonne, I know Susan through Diane. It's always fun to see, you know, there's usually one or two people that are kind of like the connectors to so many of us. So Max is on, Kate's on.
Caitlin's on.
Caitlin's on.
Zach's on.
Zach's on? Great.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started then. As life has it, we always have lots of changes that happen to all of us. And Susan had a recent tennis accident that resulted in an eye injury. And so she is not able to join us this evening. She is taking care of herself so that hopefully there won't need to be immediate or urgent surgery. So I'm certainly happy to be here and to start us off. And my name is Lori Raggio. I am the board president of HobbleJog. And just to kind of give you a sense of how I heard about HobbleJog is it's been, knowing Susan for probably 35 some years. And we started out working together at Shepherd Pratt. And I know there's others on the call as well this evening who we started to know each other, right around that same time. So, but tonight we're excited that you've all joined us. This is really our first grant presentation of 2023. And we're excited to be here and to introduce you to a variety of different people who will be sharing stories and talking about the various ways that they support TBI survivors. And so on the next slide, I just would like to give you a sense of our board, our small but mighty board. Susan obviously is the founder of HobbleJog, and Doug is our treasurer. And Doug is on travel right now, so he's not able to join us tonight. Carrie is our secretary. And then Matt Varney is one of our directors, and he is not able to join us either because he's on travel. But Susan, has lots of stories. And so there's stories with her connections with all of us. I mentioned for her and I, it's been about 35 years. Susan and Carrie were actually in shock trauma at the same time due to their injuries, didn't know it. But Bob Saunders, who is on the call, suggested that they both meet because he knew that they both had been in shock trauma around the same time. So it's just, you never know, right? Who we're going to meet and how we're going to be connected. Matt Barney was involved with ICF, the International Coaching Federation, for many, many years at a leadership level. And so Susan met Matt through that relationship. And then, Doug has been a connection on LinkedIn with Susan. So that really is our board right now. So on the next slide, what I want to do is go ahead and turn it over to Carrie, and Carrie is going to introduce us to our next speaker.
Excellent. Thanks, Lori. So I have been fortunate enough to get to spend some time with our next guest. After being awarded a grant from HobbleJog last year, I was able to conduct an in-depth interview with Dr. Schmidheiser and his associates at the Mind Your Brain Foundation. Most recently, I was able to catch his keynote address at the Brain Injury Association of Maryland's annual conference. So I know you guys are in for a real treat tonight. Dr. Schmidheiser is the founder and owner of Oasis Neurobehavioral Health, a teletherapy practice specializing in psychological and cognitive support for individuals with brain injury and other neurological issues. He was recently a principal investigator on a grant-funded research project, along with Dr. Jillian Murray, examining applications of virtual reality technology in TBI rehabilitation. Through the Mind Your Brain Foundation, this research project was funded primarily by Merck, with support from other donors, including HobbleJog. Dr. Schmidheiser is a statewide co-chair of the Brain Safety Fair Committee for the Brain Injury Association of Pennsylvania. and an associate fellow at the University of Pennsylvania's Center for Public Health Initiatives. It is my great privilege to introduce you and welcome Dr. Schmidheiser.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for the introduction. It's great to see you again and talk about, so what the funding in part that came from HobbleJog was able to provide us in the course of our research. Unfortunately, Dr. Murray was not able to join us tonight, but I know that she also shares my gratitude to the foundation for their contribution to our research project. So Susan had asked me to basically circle back now after a year and just provide an update about essentially what the research has come up with over the course of essentially the past 12 months. And so just to take a step back a little bit, the research itself is looking at virtual reality and mindfulness and how a mindfulness module on a virtual reality platform can aid in the context of traumatic brain injury rehabilitation. Specifically, we were looking at how such a module might play a role in decreasing levels of stress. And so in point of fact, what we found in the course of our research is exactly that. So just to give you a little bit more information about the project itself, it was what we call mixed methods, which means that it had a quantitative piece. We were crunching numbers and statistics based on things that people were rating. And it was also qualitative. That is, we were eliciting feedback from individuals in a semi-structured way where they were sharing their experience as TBI survivors being placed into a guided mindfulness activity in virtual reality. And so essentially what came out of that from the quantitative piece of the research, the number crunching, the statistics, is that in point of fact, we found that when we looked at the stress ratings before individuals had tried on the VR headset with the mindfulness module compared to the stress levels after they had experienced the virtual reality mindfulness module, we found a significant decrease among the vast majority of participants in levels of stress, self-rated stress, which was fantastic to see that. And Dr. Murray and I have actually submitted our findings and relate to this research for publication. So we're waiting right now eagerly that hopefully we'll hear back sometime in the near future about the possibility of this research being published. So we'll keep you posted. But essentially, so that was the big quantitative finding. On the qualitative side, was a lot of rich information that we got from the participants. And also just to give some perspective here, the settings were 3 different outpatient brain injury settings, adult outpatient traumatic brain injury rehab settings. There were 2 sites for Success Rehab in Pennsylvania, and there was 1 site for Bancroft Rehab in South New Jersey. There was a total of almost 40 participants, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a great number of participants here going through this mindfulness module. And just for a point of reference, we're talking about 5 to 7 minutes in the module. And the people who were participating got to choose, it was their choice, about whether or not they wanted to experience more of a beach setting, where there's the waves and the sun setting and you can hear seagulls and all of that, versus a mountain setting where there's a big waterfall and clouds up in the sky and you can hear the waterfall. So it was their choice. And again, 5 to 7 minutes later, they gave us the feedback about their experience. And what emerged from their experiences collectively were 3 big themes. One theme is that, not surprisingly, based on the quantitative findings of it, the fact that it's very relaxing and reduced stress, is people described the emotional experience of the event, both in terms of the beauty of the virtual environment they were immersed in, and also just how calm and tranquil they felt as a result of the experience. Another major theme was how immersive it was for them in the virtual reality modules. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's almost like a pair of goggles that you fit on, and it also has auditory feedback. So you can turn your head and you can hear what's going on in this virtual environment. It's a fully immersive visual display. So everywhere you look, you're fully immersed in that environment. So they talked about how it almost felt like you were going on a vacation, and how compelling that was. And really, a really interesting part of their feedback was how much it anchored their attention in the midst of this guided mindfulness activity to relax. And in point of fact, a fair number of individuals mentioned that they tried mindfulness activities in groups in their brain injury rehab settings. And they were more distracted because it was audio only. It was only the auditory piece of it that was guiding the mindfulness meditation activity. Whereas in this environment, it was anchored with the rich visual description that oftentimes the auditory narration was interacting with. And so they really attested to the fact that as a result of their brain injury, they oftentimes had more difficulty sustaining concentration, and that in point of fact, a number of them attested to the fact that the virtual environments really anchored their attention in that setting. So that was wonderful to hear, very encouraging. And lastly, people talked about just continuing to wanting there to be an even greater range of scenes offered aside from the beach and the mountain scene. They mentioned a couple other settings that could be really beneficial, but overall there was a great expression of motivation to engage in this. And I should say, very importantly, there were of all these individuals who participated, there were no reports of any kind of adverse effects. That is to say, especially the thing we were concerned about is nausea. That can be a big risk with virtual reality, working with individuals with traumatic brain injury. And so the fact that there wasn't nausea in these specially designed modules was very encouraging. One of the ways that we were able to, I think, offset that was that we made sure we were minimizing the motion of the individual in the scene, because that has been identified in the research literature as potentially a big trigger for motion-induced sickness. So all that said, Dr. Murray and I were incredibly grateful to the HobbleJog Foundation for helping to contribute to and support this research. And we were really impressed with the findings quantitatively, qualitatively, about the fact that, at least as a pilot study, this really looked to be incredibly promising for a path forward in brain injury rehab, combining mindfulness activities, which research has for many years spoken to the benefits of that intervention in a brain injury setting, along with virtual reality. And the combination of those factors has never before been examined. And again, we hope, fingers crossed, that that our research will be able to be published sometime in the near future, so that basically the rehab community, the research community, can read for themselves the details of this research and the promising benefits that stand there for the brain injury rehab community. So I guess that's sort of like the update there, the overview, Carrie. I don't know if there was something else that you wanted me to touch on in particular.
So I think what we can do, we have a little bit of time that
Sure.
we can open it up for questions that any of our guests may have about the research. So if everyone can use your hand raising thing, we can call on you. Yes, Jeff, what is your question?
Hi, and thanks for sharing the research. This is really great.